insecurity, energy challenges, and of course, limited fiscal space are some of the things holding back economic growth in South Africa. And that's according to the latest United Nations World Economic Situation and Prospects report. The UN expects the South African economy to grow at 0.9% this year, in line with expectations by the IMF and the World Bank. However, my next guest says that many local business owners remain optimistic, and this optimism is reflected by the 74% of South African business owners who said that they are confident that their businesses will grow in the next 12 months, and this, of course, despite the challenges that they face. So to tell us more about it, we're joined by Jeremy Lang, who's a regional general manager at Business Partners Limited. Thanks so much for coming through.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So your survey and the results thereof contradicts what some of these major institutions are saying. Tell us about it.
Yes, I think very much in line with entrepreneurship and SMEs, who are generally very optimistic about their businesses and certainly the things that they can control. I believe experience with SMEs still shows us that they are very good businesses that continue to grow. I think some of the attributes that they have contributed to this, the ability to adapt is very quickly. They're quite agile, the ability to make quick decisions, identify opportunities, even within the economy that's struggling, still is very prevalent. So the ability to identify and maneuver within that environment is still very good.
So explain to us how your index was researched, because if we look around, and we listen to the anecdotal evidence that is presented, people seem to be rather on the pessimistic side of the spectrum and citing all sorts of problems, as these major institutions are doing as well.
No, agreed. I think what was also prevalent in the index was that business owners remain very concerned about the economy, and thus one of the elements of that survey was within their ambit of control. Do they still expect to grow? And the answer was yes. But the message that came through very clearly was that confidence is still low, and they still are very concerned about the limited growth. That was one element, and the second one was, although they are very good businesses that want to grow, are constrained by the lack of supply or unpredictability of supply of electricity as well, and therefore put their growth expansion plans on hold.
And looking at the job losses that we're seeing, especially from some major, multinational companies, what are your entrepreneurs saying through your survey in terms of whether they would be able to sustain employment?
Yes, I think for them, job creation is very important, and it's very much part of their aspirations to grow jobs. There have been casualties, and one must not be naive to that. Some industries more than others. Other industries continue to thrive, where job creation still exists. It's also a matter of skill, and at what skill level job seekers are. Because as we move from this primary manufacturing and agricultural environment into a business services environment, so the skill need is very different, and therefore there are opportunities at various skill levels. But if an employee or potential employee does not equip themselves to move with the economy as they move from this primary activity into this business as services type of environment, which is, by the way, very normal for a developing economy, all the infrastructures in place, and now we need to service it. Job seekers should now start to upskill themselves more in a service-based environment.
So just to break that down in layman's terms, where exactly do those opportunities lie?
Yeah, I think if you look in industries like the education space, the medical space, there's a few now that start to become very prevalent as things. Let's take the education space, for example. There's a wide spectrum between the public offering and the top-end private schools. But what we see developing is this middle tier secondary school offering, which is not as expensive as the Curos and so on, but also a bit better than the public offering. So there's suddenly an opportunity in the middle tier or the middle segment of our economy to have a good school offering that is maybe not as expensive and more affordable for the middle working class community. And there we see growth as an example.
And Jeremy, you also say that these tough times would potentially provide businesses the opportunity to innovate. How so? And again, where? in which parts, which sectors of their businesses can innovation, be naturally taken up at this stage?
I think we often assimilate innovation with a product or service, but within a business there are many opportunities to innovate within your business process, with how you engage with your customers, for example. Artificial intelligence, chatbots, all of these tools are available. The consumer today becomes more and more demanding. They want to speak to you immediately. They want their problems resolved immediately. When they want to buy, they want their product within 24 hours. So innovation does help you to achieve that, and also service your customers. So it's important to understand, how do you position your business and whether it's still relevant, because as much as technology through innovation can assist your business, it can also destroy it if you don't keep up and your competitors run away with you. So really important to continually innovating in your business through your business processes as well as your product and service offering. With innovation, often within the entrepreneurial sphere, delivers into the greater market where bigger corporates are buying up some of this innovation and rolling it out on a much bigger scale. So really important, business owners don't often see themselves as part of that ecosystem, but innovation for our country and growth, even beyond SA borders, I do believe we make good products and good enough services to take across our borders, because if the economy is not growing, or you mentioned the stats, less than 1% now, where is the growth going to come from? So there are opportunities beyond our borders. It requires skill and capital to do it, but if all the stakeholders play their part, it's very much possible.
And I'm glad you mentioned skill and money, because companies are about maximizing a shareholder value. But at the same time, as you say, there's a need to upskill. There's a need to innovate. Are companies willing to spend that money?
Yes, I think capital resources are very much in demand at the moment. So SMEs in particular don't necessarily have the big financial muscle or reserves to do this. So it's really a matter of stakeholders in the sense of funders coming to the party, commercial funders, bankers, traditional funders like business partners and the likes. And it's our responsibility to come find those viable opportunities, help fund these businesses to grow, and collectively it has a huge impact on our economy.
Well, thank you so much, Jeremy Lang, Regional General Manager at Business Partners Limited, talking to us about how business can actually weather the low economic forecast for this year. And it's nice to hear that it's not all doom and gloom. So there is, a slither, just a slither of light shining through there. Let's take a break.